What's up, you guys? It's 2Bricks, and today we're going to be taking a look at two new droids to add to my Midi-scale droid collection. Up in the front here we have L3-37, and then ID10, Iden Versio's personal little spy droid from the Battlefront 2 campaign. The reason I just wanted to throw that one in is because it's tiny and doesn't really warrant its own video. But yeah, so these are two really fun, weird-looking, detailed, interesting kind of droids. And a whole lot of thought and design work had to go into each one of them. So I'm really excited to share them with you guys. So without further ado, let's jump in and take a look at some of the details. All right, guys, so starting off with L3. This is such an interesting, weird design and has so many unique challenges that go along with it. L3, for those of you guys who haven't seen the Solo movie, is a droid who built herself. She kind of started out as one thing, I think a protocol droid, and then began collecting parts and giving herself limbs and a new personality and all kinds of stuff until she ended up being this really weird, quirky, rambunctious, freedom-fighting droid that just wants freedom for all. So a really cool character, and I liked her a lot. Oh, there'll probably be spoilers for Solo in this movie if you haven't, or in this video if you haven't seen it. But yeah, a really, really nice design, and what's so tough about her to capture is that she has like no midsection, no neck really, and then she has these like gigantic long legs that are not attached with very much kind of around the hips there, and then all these sections have to be just filled with little mechanical wire type details and kind of little weird bits, which just make it really, really difficult to figure out solid attachment points for all of the different parts of the body. And then each of the kind of sections of her body are also offset in these weird angles. Like her hips are always kind of angled up, her chest is always angled in. She's got this little weird section that sticks out of the front right here, and a lot of like interesting subtle curves and weird things in the way that she's put together. So a really, really unique, fascinating challenge of a droid. But yeah, that's L3, and I'll give you guys a little close-up so we can kind of see some of the specifics of her design. So starting up at the top with the kind of dish head that she has, this is like one of those little R2 sensors up here, and then she has this little design. I tried to capture something that evokes that, but she has kind of a white area with 3 green triangles, and I just wanted to kind of evoke something with a triangle in it, just to call back to that. And then this little one sensor eye at the front, and then like a light on the side, and this is kind of like a grill thing in the actual design that just sort of sticks out of the front, that kind of makes up her mouth, sort of. And then the neck is attached just using, I have a hinge piece in the middle, and then I'm using a lot of these string pieces throughout to capture the kind of wire aesthetic. And just a minifig hand in there as well for a little bit of extra red detail. And then going down into the neck, so this whole thing is kind of just hinged into this hole that I have, with the whole torso being hollow. And then most of the time her neck is facing forward to it kind of gives you that, like I was saying, the offset angle where her chest is facing downwards. This whole area was so tricky to capture, but I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, especially with this little kind of continuous curve line that goes through here, and then this kind of little R2 vent detail that's canted forward on this little hinge piece inside of here. Really, really, really tough design work in there to get all that to work, but yeah, super happy with how that came out. And then, yeah, her back has just got this kind of curved, sloping back plate, and then there's a little extra bit that sticks out here with this green detail. I used a stickered piece that I think is from a speeder bike set from Rebels to get that. But yeah, if you're building your own, which by the way, instructions, I'm going to try to make those available at some point. This is a very tricky one though, so we'll have to see. But yeah, if you're going to be building that, you probably could just leave it green. I don't really know what the specific purpose of that piece is back there, but it doesn't need to be stickered up. Then her arms, you come down into her arms, and she has what are supposed to be astromech legs for her arms. Now I know that when I looked at the scale, there's no way that like R2-D2's legs would be able to be this, so it must be a different kind of astromech, but it has a similar design language. We pull over R2-D2, and we just borrow one of his legs. You can see that they have kind of a similar idea behind them, but obviously the actual R2-D2 leg is a much, much bigger piece. So yeah, but the design influence is there, which I like. And then, so each of her arms is unique. She has, different parts from different droids, and then they're fairly posable. She can move them in and out, and rotate up, get a little salute going if she wants to salute the troops. So that's cool. It goes all the way back, obviously, and just has these little, again, wire details kind of woven in throughout. So whenever she moves around, you see these dangly wire pieces, which I really like. That's one of the coolest things about her look, I think, is that element. She has superposable hands, which look very humanoid, which I'm really proud of. She has basically just a simple hinge joint for the wrist, and then each of the thumbs is each of the fingers is articulatable up and down like that. And then the thumb is on this pivot right here, where I'm using one of those relatively new plate with bar pieces sticking out of it, which can be kind of swiveled. And then the thumb is just a minifigure arm, and so it gets a really wide range of motion where she could make a fist, like so, and then bring her thumb across like that, or she can splay her fingers out and be calling out to somebody. So I think it's a really cool, versatile hand design for L3, and I'm really happy with that. And then moving down into her, let me just move the arms out of the way. Moving down into her hips right here, you can see that there's a ball joint in the middle, and then I'm using one of these old Exoforce arm pieces, which is plugged into, let's see, how can I show that to you guys? Under there, there's a pneumatic T-bar piece that plugs into the top of that Exoforce arm. So there's 2 points of connection there, but it looks very, very hollow and broken, and there's all these little extra pieces of detail coming out of it. Like there's one of these tread pieces from tank tread, and one of these little string pieces with the bar attachments woven throughout it, all through the center there. So it gives it this really chaotic, broken, thin, spindly look, but it's actually pretty secure. I mean, the 2 points that it's attached at hold it really, really well. So there's that. And then this section down here for her hip joint is fairly fragile in its construction, but when you're actually holding it from the back and front, it's actually pretty secure. And if you just grab it from the front and back here, it's just that these side pieces are only held in with a stud at the front and a stud at the back, so they can get jostled. But previously I had the actual hips attached into here with the ball joint piece, and that's actually more technically correct to her design, but it made it so flimsy that she would just collapse at the hips all the time and just completely break apart. So couldn't have that, so I ended up just redesigning the hip attachment point to be a much more secure location down underneath here, where it could be plugged into multiple studs, and this whole kind of central section that holds the whole thing together is much, much more secure. So she has a much stabler base of support now, which is really good. And then looking at her legs, those are also supposed to be sort of astromech style leg pieces that are just taken, or maybe even they said droid torso pieces, or who knows, different bits of droids. But she has one unique one on this side with the yellow accent, and then the other one on the other side is just the standard green. So I guess even though they're both green, taken from two different droids. And then there's all this kind of randomized wire detail on the one side, which is it's dark on the one side, and then there's a slightly cleaner look on here. Maybe there's more paneling left from whatever droid this was taken from on this side, and that is intentional, the randomization. And then the ball joints for her legs just give you a little bit of motion this way, but what was really important to me is to be able to get this, because L3 always kind of stands in this cowboy pose. She's kind of got her legs splayed like John Wayne, ready to get into a duel or gunfight or something. So it was really important to me to get that. And then this range right here, if I didn't have this clip piece in here, I would have a lot more range of motion, which is initially how I designed it. But the legs would constantly want to fold up in this direction, and then she would just want to drop to her knees and again completely smash into a million pieces, which we don't like. So yeah, then the bottom parts of the legs are both fairly symmetrical. Maybe those two came from the same droid, who knows? But then the feet are different in their design. So the feet are these interesting little just plates, which can angle in and out to give you kind of an ankle feel, and then just, where all the wires kind of attach into the base of the feet for that. So I think when you stand her up, you can just kind of angle the feet in a little bit, and that just gives you the ability to be able to just, give her some support so that she's standing on two flat surfaces as opposed to trying to just angle it onto the edge of whatever these plates are. So that works out pretty well, and when you just pose her and leave her be, she's pretty stable. There's not really going to be any major issues. Her kind of default standing pose is one where she's sort of leaned forward like this, and so you have to really kind of bend her legs forward or bend her knees forward and let her butt stick out in the back, and just have her head kind of sticking out of the front. So that's kind of the L3 look that you want. And I really like that she can have her hips tilted over to the one side because, again, in the actress Phoebe Waller-Bridge portrays L3 in a mocap suit, or a partial mocap suit with built-in details. But the way that the actress stands, she just has this natural lean over to one side, which is really a cool part of the attitude of L3. So I feel like you gotta have that in there. So yeah, that's pretty much all that there is to see with L3. Like I said, if you guys are interested in the design specifics, I'm going to be making instructions at some point. But understand that I have so many things on my plate right now to make instructions for, and it takes time. But they will become available, and I'll be distributing those through my Rebrickable page. So check that out if you guys haven't. The link is in the description. Next up, we have this little interesting thing, which is the ID10 droid from Battlefront 2 from the campaign. This guy's a useful little spy droid. Goes around and can zap people and unlock doors and hack into things. And actually, you start out the game story playing as him to kind of break out your character from jail using this little guy sneaking through the air vents and stuff. So it's a cool little character. He can fold up completely his legs into just this really flat configuration so that he can pop onto the character's back and he just sits on there like that. My droid isn't able to fold up that, all the way, but he has pretty posable limbs in the front and back. I gave it the ability to kind of rotate in and out these sections of the arms, so he can kind of spread out his arms for reaching out to do different things, which, I like that ability. And then his legs are just kind of dangling back here. They don't have a lot of posability in. They're supposed to be really, really thin and spindly, but they articulate, they have a knee and a wrist. So I wanted to at least have that in there. But yeah, he just hovers around. You guys know the classic, probe droid sound, the kind of wom, wom, wom when he's floating around, which I would say probably makes him less stealthy because you can hear him coming a mile away. But anyway, but yeah, when he's just kind of in his default mode, the legs just sort of dangle down like this, like the big probe droids would have, and he just kind of floats along. And then he has a couple of different eyes poking out on different sides. There's a lot of different red kind of accents throughout, and the big kind of central eye here. I just portrayed the central eye using this tire around a hollow stud, and then that just plugs into one of those bar pieces as well. And then technically that bar piece doesn't have enough clearance for the dish to sit flat on top, so he has a little bit of an angle to the dish, but I'm okay with it, honestly. And then here's a look at the inside of his head. So you can see that right here there's just this little notch that prevents the dish from sitting down completely flat on top of his head. But it has enough purchase on all the different other points that it's attached. I think it's fine. And then just a little offset antenna with the Harry Potter wand. So yeah, there is ID10. A fun little character. Maybe the Battlefront 2 campaign might not be that memorable to people now that we have Jedi Fallen Order and it's an incredible, proper, full single-player experience. But I still think that the characters from that campaign were memorable enough to get some attention. So there you go. All right, you guys, so there are all of the droids. I'm going to give you guys just a little freehand look at the end here while we do the end of the video. Yeah, I think the collection is really coming along. I really love all the different shapes and varieties and crazy colors from this particular collection. I like that I have a little tiny new Imperial droid to go along with the mouse droid, so he's not lonely. And yeah, I think L3 looks really, really great, and especially when you place her next to the other humanoid droids. She has such a unique silhouette and look to her. I think it's really cool. So yeah, really like the collection. I'm going to keep expanding it, of course. One of the viewers had a awesome suggestion. I'm sorry that I'm forgetting your name right now, but to try a clone trooper to go along with the battle droid. And since the clone troopers are kind of like manufactured people that kind of start out almost droid-like because they're programmed for obedience. I know, of course, they later on develop their own personalities and such, but I think I could get away with sticking a clone trooper in here with the rest, and he wouldn't be too out of place. So I'm going to give that a go. I think that's actually a really, really cool idea and a really interesting challenge. So that probably won't be the next one we take a look at. This is going to take a little while to figure out, but it'll come sometime down the line, I think. All right, you guys. So yeah, I really appreciate all of you guys' different suggestions for different droids. I know there's been a ton. I'm sure that I'll get a ton of IG11 suggestions now that the Mandalorian is out. Trust me, I'm making a list, and I have all of you guys' suggestions in mind, and I really appreciate that. So keep suggesting what other droids you guys want to see. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for me today. Just enjoy showing you guys these little creations that I make, these little crazy things. And yeah, I really, really appreciate the support. You guys have been really amazing. Again, another little mini milestone for my channel. I hit 1,500 subscribers. And to every single one of you 1,500 folks, if you're watching, I appreciate you guys so much. Growing the channel as rapidly as I have been is not easy. It takes a lot of work, and I really, really appreciate the support. All right, you guys, so I'm going to see you on the next one. Thanks again, and may the Force be with you.